What's going on, y'all, and welcome on in. Today let's talk specifically about the news that just got dropped. This Thursday will be getting, once you complete episode 3, the episode 3 selectives, or they call it season 2 selectives, okay? Don't get this confused with episode 2 characters. They're just calling it season 2, but the units that have been revealed, let's go ahead and pull that up right now, will be episode 3 units. So in today's video, let's just go and talk about it. I'm going to make another video talking about what other content is getting updated as well, so make sure you check it out, because I'm also going to tie in, I'll mention this in the other video as well, we're going to tie this in to the current Ezra book. If you guys watched my last video, thank you so much for watching. It blew up. This book right here, guys, since now that we know that you will be able to choose a few episode 3 selective units, which can be also picked from here, it'll guide us a little bit better if you haven't made your choice just yet. Just keep in mind, guys, by the time you watch this, there's 3 days left, potentially 2 days left by the time you watch. Just make sure you write it down, set an alarm, whatever you need to do. Don't forget to claim it, otherwise you'll be really, really sad, okay? But this video specifically, let's talk about the units that are listed for the episode 3 selective, what it means, how it works, etc., and then which ones I think are the best picks for you guys, okay? Anyway, stay tuned for the rest of the video. Thanks so much for watching, and let's get on with it. Alrighty, guys, let's go ahead and pull up the patch notes, and I got a few disclaimers to talk about for the Season 2 Selective Summon, which includes Episode 3 heroes, okay? So, guys, basically this works exactly like the brand new account when you first get your Selective Summons, and it is going to have that revamped feature. If you're a returning player from a long time ago, they reworked Selective Summons, where now you can screenshot or snapshot a, like let's say you find your number 2 unit, okay? We're going to go over the tier list later and what I recommend, but let's say, for example, Politis is your number 2 choice and Flan is your number 1 choice, okay? Let's say you see Politis early, you can save her and still roll and hopefully find a Flan, and if you don't end up finding a Flan later on in your 30 selective summons, you can always have that backup Politis, your number 2 choice. You always have that as a backup. So the reason that's important, guys, is because when I tie this into the Book of Ezra selector, right, guys? I know selectors, selectives, episode 2, episode 3, whatever. It's all a little confusing. Just try to bear with me. When you tie that into your selective book, if you haven't used that yet, your selector book, this is not guaranteed, right? So if you're planning to pull for Politis, or Politis is your number 1, and you don't pick her up from the selector book that you got in your mail, right? In my last video, you know, there's a chance you don't get her here. So just be careful, guys. Be mindful of that. You already know. You did your selective summon. Most of y'all picked Cigarette. And as you know, you either had to reroll your account or you got lucky. But in case you weren't aware, it's not guaranteed, okay? That being said, let's move on. As long as you clear episode 3, guys, stage 1010, it is a little bit difficult, I know, especially for my newer players. If you can, try to finish this first. That way you know who you get from your selective. And like I said, you still have 3 days left on your selector book. But that's not going to be possible for a lot of y'all. It's a lot to get through, and some of it can be difficult. So you may have to make a choice between using your book first, because that has an expiration date. While this selective summon here for season 2, guys, it's not going anywhere. There's no time gate. I know I'm gonna get asked about it how long ever it takes for you to complete episode 3, 10-10, this will unlock for you. So there's no rush, but if you want to, try to hurry so that way you know who to pick from your selector summon. That's, you know, you can do that. Okay, so here's the list, guys. We have Shuer, Valen, Flan, Mort, Politis, Ida, Senia, Elenov, Eufine, Cecilia, Elenci, and Bomb Model Kana. So pretty much all the episode 3 characters, with the exception of Landy, because she was limited. Was there another limited in there, guys? Let me know in the comments below. But I think it was mostly just Landy. Besides like collab and then, right, the summer units. So yeah, we have a pretty good lineup here. All episode 3 characters. And yes, guys, Elenci and Eufine, who came out in the game way earlier, they're also they played major parts in the story, so we include them under episode 3. So what I did for you guys here is made a quick tier list, just like in our last video, guys, on just my quick opinion, if you wanted to know. Once again, guys, don't worry too much. None of these characters are limited, so you could just pick your favorite. If you've been wanting a waifu, if in the Book of Ezra, right, guys, Senia and Elenov were not included in there, you may want to go ahead and just pick up one of these 2 from there, in case, you know, if you were eyeballing them. They're some of Car's favorites. But overall, in terms of power levels, I did kind of rank them a little bit. And let's go through the list real fast. Okay, guys, in the top pick section, obviously these 2 were mentioned in my last video as well. Politis and Flan are very, very strong units. Politis is just very strong anti-cleave. She can cleave as well. And then Flan is a premier cleaver setup type unit that is just extremely strong. So these 2 are very strong RTA can be used in other areas of PvP as well, and overall the most viable if we're PvP focused, okay? And don't worry, I have a PvP focused section as well. Moving on to the other PvP focused units, these kind of take a little bit of a backseat to these two up here, just in terms of overall usage rates and viability in the meta, right? Things can always shift, but let's go and just go down the list real quick. Senia, really strong unit. Also has some PvE potential for things like Expedition. Very, very strong in the Ice Expedition because you build her with high attack, and if you didn't know the mechanics, she can kind of take that high attack sleep or stun that normally would go to a DPS, and that way your DPS can be unaffected. That being said, she's really strong in PvP versus units like Straws. Just in general, I think she's more viable than like the likes of Mort, although that's pre-buff. We'll have to see how strong he is on Thursday, guys. And Elenov. Potentially even Shu. She's just a really nice unit. Not the best, not top tier by any means, but not a bad pick at all. And the fact that she's getting PvE, let's go in and say I put her on the left side reason the most, okay? So she's the #1 for the second row. Cecilia, very strong, guys, in the right hands. She doesn't always make the cut in a lot of like premier tier lists, but some people swear by her. Very strong debuffs. I've seen her cause, she's wrecked me in RTA for sure. She's very, very strong. Just a little bit less so than like the top 2 PvP units, right? Also has some PvE potential, just strong debuffs, and is a knight, so decent pick. Elenci, as we all know, guys, is a very, very solid choice. She used to be one of the best units in the game. Still has an amazing kit. Just her type of bruiser, she doesn't quite hold up like she used to. Just sort of fallen off big time, although I think if you like both her character, you can make great use of her. She's still amazing. She has defense up, she has a strip, she's a strong bruiser style unit that has defense breaks. AoE, just strong overall, but not quite where she used to be, okay? Shu recently got buffed, and I think she's definitely a much, much better, like, anti-fire bruiser nowadays. But now that we have, like, Rem, she's kind of just sort of lost her spot once again, which is such a shame, because she got buffed, and then she got into exclusive equipment. She's still solid, guys. Don't question that. Just not, you know, there's probably, yeah, I think Rem is just better if you have her in terms of ice bruisers and countering units like Charlotte, Ravi, whatever. Carrot, but still decent in case you didn't pick up Rem, or if you just like her, she can also be a good ice bruiser. Elenov is a tricky one. She's just more of a nice PvP unit if you want that crit damage buff. We could also put her in the PvE focus row, guys. Keep in mind both her and Senia, right, have some PvE usage. Her, people use her to set up one-shots because the crit damage buff is pretty unique in that regard. There's only a few other units in the game, and she's very accessible on the skill 3, providing crit damage buff if you want to set up one-shots. But for PvP, think of her sort of like Charles. When RNG goes her way, she can pop off. When it doesn't, she's kind of just an injury-related unit, and injury, as we all know, is not really in the best spot, but they're trying to make, Smilegate trying to make it work a lot better. Mort is, I put the last only because, speaking of injury, we aren't sure how good he's going to be post-buff. I think he'll be much better, but who knows if he'll actually be like top tier. For now, just be careful of picking him, but he will be getting buffed, so if you liked him, consider picking him up. The fact that he has a stacked kit is just sort of, his RNG reliant skills kind of held him back, and I think they did a lot to improve that. So let's see overall how he lands. Not a bad pick overall, though. When we start getting to the PvE focus row, guys, I think these are a little bit, take a little bit of a back seat unless they're your favorites. Remember, just it's a video game, pick what you want overall. But I think the top 2 rows kind of take precedence because PvE in this game, for the most part, I know there's some challenging content, but PvP generally is much easier and less reliant on specific picks, unlike PvP. But let's go through the list real fast, guys. The first 2 units, Euphine and Urvalin, although these can also be used somewhere in PvP. I know someone out there is like a Euphine only main or something, but typically they're seen as, both of these, their premier role would be Banshee one-shotting, okay? They're backups to Biken, and now that you have free Ram, guys, I really more so think you should avoid these 2 unless you really like them, because Ram is, hopefully you got her for free, and I think she's much easier to run, especially, so Biken is the #1 Banshee one-shotter, Ram would be #2, she can also work on free attack set, and I think these are also viable options for Banshee one-shots, but they're more gear intensive than the other 2. Other than that, I don't really know too much of a spot for them. Maybe arena cleaving for Euphine or Valen. I don't even, who cares about her? Sorry if any of Valen fans out there. Kana, I think you avoid Kana, guys, at all costs because she's free from connections. You can't get her artifact, but keep in mind the artifact, I think, you know, with a selective, we want to aim for heroes instead. But Kana can be gone from connections. However, if you do want to get her and you just want to skip the connection aspect, she's very, very strong. One of the, probably the top pick for Earth Expedition. as a fire DPS, so keep that in mind. But really, guys, you want to try to avoid her. Now, last but not least, I put her in this row, guys, because Ida, I'm actually going to be picking her for my Book of Ezra selector, but that's only because I don't own her. I do think she's in dire need of buffs. I haven't seen her used almost anywhere, so Ida fans, can you please speak up for me and just give us, the rest of us that haven't used her or didn't pull for her, kind of where you're using her at, right? I think we're all aware that she's not the most meta unit, not the most powerful unit, but I'm sure she's got some kind of usage. I know she can do some decent damage here and there, but I do think she does need some buffs. And overall, I think she would be, these two rows, guys, I would try to avoid at all costs. Unless they are your absolute favorite units, okay? Try to pick the top two. All right, guys. Anyways, those are my quick takes. Make sure y'all, no need to rush. It'll be available for a long time. And make sure you watch my second video because I'm going to tie some of these selections into our Book of Ezra and kind of wrap it all up in a neat, tidy package because we all got to make a choice soon for this Book of Ezra summons, but not necessarily for these. We have as much time as we need to decide on these units here, okay? Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one very shortly. Peace out, y'all.